So I just got back from the Spider-Man Brand New Day screening, and I'm going to give you my review of the movie. Don't worry, no spoilers will be said until the very end. I promise you, you will have ample time before I say anything that wasn't in like the very first trailer. So if there's been a TV spot where they actually show that Optimus Prime shows up, he doesn't in this movie. I'm kidding. I'm not mentioning it. So super excited though to talk about this movie. If you can't tell, I'm a massive Spider-Man fan. A giant Spider-Man up here in my Daily Bugle here. Big old Spider-Man fan. And I wanted to give you my current rankings for what I think of all the Spider-Man movies, just so you kind of understand my tastes first. Don't worry, I will get to Spider-Man Brand New Day and my thoughts and what I loved, liked, what I'm mixed on. But just a precursor, if you don't know me, my favorite Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. I think that Andrew Garfield has been the best Peter Parker Spider-Man performance we've gotten so far, although his movies let him down. I feel like Tobey's movies raised him up. And I feel like I feel like Tom has been stuck in this weird middle ground where he has been kind of Iron Man's sidekick and Iron Lad, and he's been Spider Boy, and he hasn't really been Spider-Man. And how I kind of described it was, it felt like if they said, "Hey Andrew, don't worry, I know that you're hanging off the side of this building. Spider-Man's coming to see you." If I saw Tobey's Spidey coming, I'd be so calm. I'm fine. If I saw Andrew's Spider-Man coming, I'd also be fine if he was coming to save me. I'd be a little bit more nervous if like I was hanging off a clock tower, but I'm not a blonde woman and I think I'd be okay in that sense. But if Tom Spider-Man came to save me up before this movie, I'd be a little worried about it. So I feel though like those worries have been put to rest with this movie. So that's a good thing, right? And with Tom's movies up to this point, I haven't been the biggest fan. I liked No Way Home, but I felt like Andrew and Tobey carried that. Although Tom's performance throughout not just that movie, but all of them have been wonderful. Here's my rankings of the current Spider-Man movies, with the exclusion of Brand New Day. We're gonna figure out where that falls in that ranking later. But number one for me is Spider-Man 2. That for me is, subjectively, I think it's like a 10, but for me, I'd say it's like a 9 out of 10 for me. Man, that movie's good. It's so heartfelt. The story feels so focused. Like all of Tobey's films, with the exception of the third one to some degree, it's a commentary about the humanity of these different characters, and you can understand what drives them. And I loved that. Of course, that's Spider-Man 2. Then for next one, and for me, it'd be Spider-Man 1. Incredible performances. And then I would put in Spider-Man No Way Home. And then I think I would do Spider-Man Homecoming, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man Far From Home, which has been my least favorite so far. So Tom's, to this point, had not really cracked that really upper tier outside of No Way Home, which again I just really view to be a sequel to Andrew and Tobey's that also kind of includes Tom. I feel like those really, for me at least, added a lot of weight to that. Now let's talk about what I liked about this movie. I've been rambling enough about the other one, so let's talk about this one. I think this is the best. Okay, so here's what I loved about Brand New Day. I think this is the best web swinging that Tom Holland has done. I think that in this movie, we see Tom Holland's Spider-Man at his best. I think that he really embodies Spider-Man, not Spider-Boy, not Iron Lad, not just a high school Whiz Willikers kid. He feels capable. He feels competent. He feels confident. He feels amazing, spectacular. All the different adjectives that you would see on the comic book cover, he feels it. And especially towards the end of the movie, which again, I'm not going to spoil, my eyes lit up and I was like, this is what I've been missing. This is the Spider-Man I've been missing. So super excited for that. Was very excited at the end of No Way Home when he kind of had the sewing kit making his own costume. It feels like a return to form. Next thing that I love for my Peter Parkers to be a little bit sad. I don't like it if my Peter Parkers aren't a little bit sad, a little bit broke. I want at least one night during the week out of a month or something like that for Peter Parker to have ice soup for dinner, because he just doesn't have it, just doesn't have the money. That's the Peter Parker that I like. Now, I understand the importance and the intrigue of having a new turn or twist on Spider-Man where like, oh, maybe he owns Parker Industries and he's kind of like Tony Stark now with Stark Industries, or you know what, maybe in this one he's evil or whatever. Okay, fine, but the general Spider-Man, I want him to be a little bit sad and a little bit broke. And I feel like this Tom Holland movie really brought that back to the big screen, which I was very happy about. So outside of him being a little bit broke, outside of great web swinging, I do think that this also was really well acted. I thought this movie is extremely well acted. I bought every performance. I only bumped up against one performance, and it's something that I will mention later on as a more of a negative for me in the movie. I think it's a kind of something I'm mixed on. I thought that Tom was great. I think that maybe No Way Home was his best performance, but this, if like that was like 100, this is like a 99. Like it was incredible. He did a great job, great actor. Again, he made me believe he was Spider-Man, not just Spider-Boy, not Iron Lad. He felt like he really was the character. And I heard that there were some complaints that people were having, probably from me too. And they heard those kind of critiques and were like, okay, let's kind of make some adjustments. And I'm glad they did. I thought the entire cast was great. Zendaya was great. Ned was great for the times that we see them. I thought that John Bernthal's performance was mixed. I'll get to that in my kind of mixed category. And Sadie Sink. Let's talk about Sadie Sink. Now, don't worry. I will not tell you who she's playing. I will not tell you even if she is playing Optimus Prime. She's not, or is she? We don't know. I'm not saying it. It's possible she's playing Optimus Prime. She was great in this. She was great in this movie. I was a little skeptical just because she's kind of trendy right now with Stranger Things, and I'm not personally the biggest Stranger Things guy. That's nothing against Stranger Things. That's not like an objective judgment on the Stranger Things show. But for me, it never, I enjoyed the first couple seasons and I just fell off. I never even saw the last season. So I was like, okay, is she just kind of a trendy pick? He's kind of the trendier pick right after that Stranger Things season. And although I think that he's a great actor and I loved him in that show that I saw that season of, I did not feel like he fit the role that he was playing of Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four. However, I feel like whatever role, could be Optimus Prime, that Sadie Sink is playing in this Spider-Man movie, she nailed. And if by chance she were in anything else, or if she made it out of this movie, or if she did, I'd want to see more of her. And if she doesn't, I'd be sad that she was gone. So again, no spoilers there. I really enjoyed her performance. I thought she did a great job as whatever mystery character that is. I will tell you at the end of this review, but that's for later. Don't worry, you will have plenty of time to pause or turn off the video before I get to spoilers. Also, the Hulk. The Hulk's in this movie. I wish they didn't show all that in the trailers, but it was good. I thought that, it's always nice to see Bruce Banner. It's always nice to see the Hulk, and this was a return to form for Hulk. And it's no longer Professor Hulk. It was full rage monster Hulk. And we haven't had that since Thor Ragnarok. That's a while ago, y'all. Is that 2017? 2018? It's been almost a decade since we've had full rage Hulk. So I was really excited to see Hulk raging out, back in his true form. That made me really happy. And that brings me to the action. The action in this was really good. I still think that, personally, Tobey's fights were just the best. That's me. But this was really good. And I think that it was the best out of all the Tom movies, and that's improvement. That's a lot of improvement. The complaints that I have is that when it comes to the fights, it can feel kind of CG. They don't feel as grounded. Sometimes, not always. But I will say though, I feel like they played through the Spider-Man PS4, PS5 video games and said, why aren't we doing more of that? Similar, mind you, to what happened in Captain America Winter Soldier. They saw the Captain America video game. Those of you who don't know, there was a Captain America the First Avenger video game. There was also an Iron Man video game and a Thor video game. I played the Iron Man one, never played the other ones at the time. I was a broke kid at the time, didn't have any money. Don't blame me. Don't get mad at me for not playing those games. But they watched the Captain America game, the makers of the Winter Soldier did, Anthony and Joe Russo, and said, why don't we do combat like that? And I feel like they did the same thing with this Spider-Man with the Insomniac games. There is one move, and you'll know it when you see it. It happens in one fight that I'm like, yeah, that's a finisher from from the Spider-Man video games. So that was really cool to see. It was really cool to see. Speaking of CG, I also wanted to touch on I gotta do the things that I liked. So anyways, the fight scenes I thought were the best of Tom's movies this far. Okay, the last thing is I thought the CG was very well done. I thought the CG was very well done. I feel like none of it looked bad. None of it looked bad. They did a great job with it. Although it kind of felt a little inauthentic at times. I thought, because it didn't feel quite like New York, and I'll get to that in a minute. It did feel like it was well done. The CG was good. So now let's go on to the mixed section. So these are the things I was mixed about. I'm going to lead this off with that New York thing I was talking about. To me, it doesn't feel like New York City. To me, it feels like they shot in Glasgow, and they shot in England, and they shot in Europe, and sound stages, and all the web swinging felt like it was shot in a CG camera. None of it had the cool spider cams of Toby, or I felt like even like the direction of the swinging for Andrews, it felt more Spidey. But I will say that it's the mix section. This isn't the bad section, because they do some really great things with the web swinging in this movie, because there are times where, due to events in the story, Spider-Man is having some like labored web swinging. It's whether he's being chased, whether he's in a fight, whether he's having troubles because he's low on web fluid, whatever's going on. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. He's having some trouble swinging. And man, you feel the velocity, you feel the height, you feel all of these different feelings that I'd want to feel if I was tagging along with Spider-Man. And even at some points, he's swinging like carrying people. And it felt great. It didn't feel like, I remember, what was it, Mary Jane in Spider-Man 1 where her hair's blowing the wrong direction, and I'm pretty sure she was hanging onto a mannequin. It felt really good. And I truly think this is, again, like the best web swinging so far, but it felt like it was through a CG environment. It didn't feel like New York. It felt like, for the most part, there were some scenes that did feel like New York, but for the most part, it just felt like a CG city. And I don't want it to feel like Metropolis. I don't want it to feel like Chicago. I want it to feel like New York City. And I've been there enough to now know what that feels like. And I felt like Andrew's movies did a great job making it feel that way. I feel like Toby's movies did a great job feeling that way. And I feel like Tom in this movie has done the best that it has done so far, but I don't think that it's where it needs to be yet. So I want to see that continuing to improve, but I think that it's going to. I really, that's something that I'm mixed on. So the next thing that I'm mixed on, John Bernthal's performance. Not that he was a bad actor. I think this comes down to a directing, writing thing more than it comes down to a performance thing. Heaven knows John Bernthal can act circles around me. But I think that he got a little bit of the Thor Ragnarok Love of Thunder treatment. When you watch the Netflix Daredevil Punisher series, Punisher One Last Kill, etc., as much as I have, and I've recently just gone back to rewatch it, this is jarring to me. It's not full tee-hee, jokey like Thor Ragnarok, but it feels that way for Frank. If you know Frank, this dude's serious as a heart attack. And although he might joke occasionally, this did not feel serious. And I feel like they did a bad job managing the tones of Spider-Man, managing the tones of a PG-13 movie, and managing the tones of Punisher, the Punisher series, and the Punisher character that we've gotten to know and love. To me, this felt like a multiversal variant of John Bernthal's Punisher, and not the John Bernthal Punisher that I have seen. Now, again, it wasn't poorly acted and it wasn't egregious, but it took me out of it a couple times. There's one part in the movie where, and I'm going to be very, very vague about this. This is not a spoiler. I won't tell you what's going on, but there's like kind of a joking, it's kind of like a prank that's being pulled between Spider-Man and Punisher. It has to do with Spider-Man's mask, and you'll see what's going on. Again, no spoilers. And it felt so out of character. It was funny, but it was funny if maybe someone else did it. And it just, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it was a little jarring just to see what was in my eyes. I don't want to say a betrayal of character because it wasn't that egregious. It would take me out of the movie where I'm like, oh, that's the Punisher. Why is he doing that? Okay. Anyways, it's a kid's movie, right? It felt almost like when like there's like a multi-dimensional movie and a character you know and love gets sucked into like the multi-dimensional thing, and he's like, oh wow, now I'm drawing like a 2D character. It felt like that with John Bernthal's Punisher, where he got sucked into the MCU Spider-Man universe, and then he became a lot more lighthearted. He still does have some good character moments. He still does have a bit of an edge. You do see that to a degree, but I feel like most of the Punisher stuff is played for laughs, and that was a little odd for me, considering who he is, what he does. I feel like they lightened it up a lot so he would interact with Spider-Man better, but he did have some really cool moments. He had some really cool moments. I'm just thinking of some, and some really cool action moments that were really awesome, but I just don't, I'm a little disappointed with how he was coming across. And that was going to lead me to, okay, that's a spoiler. I'm not going to say that. Things that I'm mixed about. So here's another thing that I'm mixed about. Okay, this is a controversial one because I was one of those guys screaming from the rafters, I'm tired of the frickin' CG Spider-Man suits. I was one of those, and I'm going to raise my hand and say that was me. Okay, I was pretty loud and vocal about it. If you didn't know, trust me. But I think they overcorrected with this suit. I feel like they overcorrected. I'd say 50% of the time when Tom is framed like I am now, you can see his eyeballs through his suit. And why that gets me, I feel like they were doing that with the fog-free lenses. Listen, I'm a bit of a cosplay stickler, all right? That's kind of one of the things that I'm known for. I'm not the cosplay tickler. That's a different guy. He's banned from conventions. I'm the cosplay stickler, all right? And seeing some things on Spider-Man's suit, it makes me feel as though it wasn't as made as well as it should have been. When I look at Tobey's suit, although there is no way on earth he made that Peter Parker, he didn't make that suit. Suit's a work of art. It's a work of art. Whether or not it's your thing, you look at that one and you go, that's it. Whoever made, the actual cut sew, well done. And then you look at Andrews. I didn't like the design of his first suit, but dang, the actual, the costume house that put that together for the movie killed that design. They did a great job with it. And I say killed it in a positive way. And the Amazing Spider-Man 2, beautiful suit. Even going back to the other Tom Holland suits, I think they were very well-made suits, the practical ones. They just did them over with CG for some reason. But there were seams that were seen that they weren't meant to be like a story thing. It wasn't like, oh, you can see the seams because he made it himself. It looked kind of poorly constructed for me. Like I felt like they did it more cheaply. For example, there's these two seams that run right here on Spider-Man's face, and it bothered me the whole movie. I'm like, why isn't the webbing further over to cover the seam here? Why is it not further over? His eyes being seen in like half the scenes were a little bit distracting because I feel like they were using the fog-free lenses that weren't very reflective. I don't know if that was a deliberate choice to get more of Tom's eyes and expressions in there. But it was something that I just didn't personally gel with. And then I think that they could have maybe added a little bit of, because like Tom was in great shape for this, but in the shoulders of that costume, I felt like they could have either designed a pattern better that would have made his shoulders look a little bit broader, added some pads maybe in the shoulders just a little bit, or maybe tightened up some of the armpit area or something, because it just looked a little baggy. And I don't know if that was kind of a direction towards the Andrew Garfield suit where his was a little bit baggier. It wasn't as skin tight painted on as Tobey's was. But the suit I was mixed on. I thought I was going to love it a lot more than I did the suit. And in some ways, I think it's an improvement because, gosh, I want to see a freaking seam. I want to see a wrinkle. I want to see maybe thoughtfully you can see Peter's eye when he's trying to have a serious conversation through the costume. I think that's interesting. But the way that I would see the eyes in the costume, the ways that I saw some of the seams, it didn't feel intentional. It felt lazy. It sometimes. So that's me being a stickler. That's me saying that, but I was a little mixed on that. The next things that I was mixed on, it's the big one. It's the big one, and it is the story. Someone described it, and I think I mentioned this earlier, as playing through a Spider-Man PS5 video game. It feels very much like that, where there's lots of different villains, and sometimes it feels disjointed, and that would be my biggest critique with the movie. The thing that I'm the most mixed on is the story. I felt like parts of it I loved, parts of it I was like, it should have gotten cut out in script, like in the script. This should have just been completely cut out. It felt a little overstuffed. Like there's so many characters in this, and even when it comes to the main villain, which I won't really say who and what and how this main villain is the main villain, because it's a little bit of a secret what's going on. I didn't really like what they did with the main villain. I didn't feel, and maybe I'm just a cold-hearted old man over here, I didn't feel a lot when it came to the main villain and their motivations. To a degree, it felt kind of bland personally. There were a couple moments that I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's a bummer. More like, oh, I felt some things, but I didn't feel as much as I have in other movies. Even when it comes to all of the Spider-Man trilogy from Tobey's and both of Andrew's movies, I felt more personally in both of those than I did this one. I felt more in No Way Home than I did this one. And I think it's just the script. I think it felt very blocky to me. I felt like they were trying to fit a lot into this, and they fit a lot in. But part of me is like, I'd almost rather it be a little bit tighter, a little bit more focused. That's something that I was really praising in my head the Tobey Maguire movies for. Love them or hate them. Those first two movies especially are very focused, and they're very grounded. And when I say focused, I mean they're really doing a good job setting up the villain. They're setting up who he is. They're setting up what Peter Parker is going through right now, what his stage in life is, how those things are clashing, how not just the different hero and villain is clashing, but how where the people are in their different lives, and Doc Ock losing his wife and the crazy, like, it's a tragedy there. Then you have Norman Osborn and the things that are going on. But it's like you have these things that are really, they feel driven by humanity and feelings, and they feel very, and I say focus, I don't mean like tunnel vision, narrow sight. Everything feels deliberate. And this one, it felt a little scattered. It felt a little, oh, and then he meets the Punisher. No, and then he fights the Hulk, and then he goes, and then. And it felt like, and then he does this, and then he does this, and not, he does this because this, and then he goes here because this. So it didn't feel as deliberate and focused as I would have personally liked. And that's why it's not a bad, this isn't my bad category. This is my mixed category. I didn't personally love the story as much as I was hoping that I would. The teasers that you see of all the really cool different villains that he was fighting, man, I would have loved to seen some more of that. I'm trying to not go to spoilers, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more of certain things. There's a lot of time jumps in this that I'm like, and I don't mean time jumps like 50 years later. I mean, like, who fast forwarded through that scene? I want to see that. Go rewind. Who hit skip on the chapter? I want to go back and see that. And then there were some other things that I wish that I could have skipped through that I couldn't. So all that being said, it's hard to talk about the story without talking about spoilers, which again we'll get to. But it felt clunky and blocky in some areas, and I didn't feel a very strong connection to the villain. Although that villain's performance was good, I didn't feel a very strong connection to the villain personally. And that, again, that's not the fault of the actor. I think the actor did a great job. I just feel like we could have gotten a bit more setup, maybe a bit more screen time with them, I guess. But anywho, overall I enjoyed the story. I didn't love the story. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I didn't love it. The next thing I mixed on, I would say, is the score. It's not bad. It also didn't stick out to me, though, either. And I don't know if that was just the audio mix of the theater that I was in. I thought the theater that I was in was great. Again, shout out to ScreenX and AMC for having me. It was wonderful to be able to see the movie early. I'm really appreciative of it. It was great to see. I'll touch on that as well, but I really was just sort of I wasn't blown away by the score. So kind of mixed things for me with the score and the story. Both those things I was a little iffy on. Okay, the things I didn't like. The things I did not like in the movie. I'm trying to think of the things. So this is the good thing. There's not a lot of bad. There's not a lot of bad in this movie. So for the things that I did not like about the movie. So what I didn't like about the movie is, to me, it didn't have the memorable moments that some other Spider-Man films have. even when describing the plot, okay, this is what I didn't like. So, what I didn't like about the movie, it felt overcrowded. It felt overcrowded. I think I've already touched on wanting a more focused story to a degree. This movie felt overcrowded to me. It felt a little bit like Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire in some ways, where it's just like, hey, I get it that we got the montages of the different villains and Scorpions in it, and Punishers in it, and Hulk's in it, and whoever Sadie Sink's playing's in it, and the guy from Severance is in it, and of course Zendaya's Mary Jane's in it, and Ned's in it, and gosh, who else was in it that I'm missing right now? Oh, then there's the lady who's the cop whose name I'm forgetting right now. She's in it. And it felt like they were trying to set up a lot, and they've started. So this is something I like about it. They've started to construct a universe around this poor kid, around Peter Parker, for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, where like we had a universe in Tobey's when it was Harry Osborn, when it Aunt May, and you had Mary Jane, and you had Doc Connors, and you had J. Jonah Jameson. He's not in it. That's a negative for sure. Didn't like that J. Jonah Jameson, the Daily Bugle, wasn't in this. Big con for you right there. It's kind of weird. I don't like that, but it felt overcrowded. It felt overcrowded to me. And that, I would say, is my one negative for the movie. And obviously, if you didn't think it was, it's fine. It's fine. You might hate some things that I said that I loved. You might have no issues with things that I said that I had mixed reactions about. That's cool. It's just my subjective opinion. Please go see it. Okay, so I think we're at the point in the video where I can talk about my overall rating. So my overall rating is, drum roll please, an 8. I give it an 8 out of 10. For me, that is great. It is a great movie. It means that I put it up there right next to Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that this and Spider-Man No Way Home are Tom's best, which, I mean, that's about all you can ask for, right? I still personally put Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire above this one. I still put Spider-Man No Way Home above this one if it's like 1A and 1B for Tom Holland's movies. I still put Spider-Man No Way Home above this one. But it was still really good, and I recommend that you see it. I absolutely recommend that you see it in theaters, especially because some of the swinging in this movie, some of the web swinging, looks so cool visually. It really looks so cool. Some of the action scenes look really good, and it's worth seeing on the big screen. Now, to be biased here to a degree, I was invited to the screening by ScreenX and AMC. And ScreenX, this was a really cool movie to see in ScreenX. I gotta be honest. I thought it was so cool. And in the swinging sections, to feel very enveloped by the action that was taking place, I thought it was really neat. I thought it was really neat and unique, and you just don't get that in any other format. I thought that was really interesting. Another thing that I liked is, since this movie was, again, this is a little biased, but this is genuinely something that I genuinely liked. I will say a negative thing about ScreenX in a little bit, but it's more of like a little gripe than like a crazy opinion on it. But I like that there was literal parts of the movie I feel like the frame was extended and not with some sort of CGI AI nonsense. It was filmed with ScreenX in mind, so they had the cameras to extend the frame. So you're looking at Mary Jane in one, and then all of a sudden you can see Spider-Man in your peripheral over here, and as they pan over, you see that the screen slowly brings him in to frame, which is so cool, because like you would have missed him standing over there because it was kind of just a oneer on MJ, and then she's having a conversation with Spider-Man about what, who knows, but she was having a conversation with Spider-Man, and you see like, oh wow, yeah, okay, that's cool. You can see him over there. It's really neat. You can see when Spider-Man's flying through the buildings, the building that's about to come on frame, and it comes on frame. It's really interesting and really unique, and especially especially with the swinging scenes. I think that the swinging scenes in Screen X might be the best format to see those. So go see it in Screen X if you can. But also, a gripe that I had, sometimes it was a little distracting because the movie theater got real bright. But that happens if you think about it, like when you're watching a movie and a big explosion goes off, like if you have a camera facing the crowd, all the crowd's faces light up, you know, that just happens with screens. So if like there's a big explosion or something that happens, the whole theater gets bright. It can be a little distracting because then if you can see people in front of you, I guess, but like, I don't know how you get around that. You want the side panels to still be bright. You don't want them to be significantly darker because I think that would be more distracting. So I think that's a small gripe that I have. It's something that I noticed while watching this one, but it's not something that would deter me from seeing Screen X again. It's just a little gripe that I had. I'm trying to not make it look like I'm doing an ad for them. I'm not. They've paid me no money, unfortunately. Please pay me money. I'd love to have some. I like Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, and now this Tom Holland one. I have definitely had sleep for dinner before. So let's not do that. But yeah, it was really cool to see. Go see it in theaters. For me, 8 out of 10. I think it is tied for the best Tom Holland movie that he's made, that he's been in. I mean, Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, he was in Endgame, and Endgame's amazing, so we're not counting that. But it was great. It was great. I will say something about this movie. This movie made me appreciate the entire Tom Holland Spider-Man quadrilogy. I think it's a quadrilogy at this point. There's 4 of them. I don't think it's the right word, quadrilogy, but I'm just going to say it anyways. It made me appreciate the entire Spider-Man movies that feature Tom Holland even more. There's no secret here. It's not a spoiler to say that MJ and Ned don't remember Peter. And I found myself nostalgic and really missing those connections, and not in a way that is a negative towards the movie. They want you to miss it. It's actually it's deliberate. It's intentional. They want you to miss this. And seeing Peter miss them, I actually really felt that. So I thought that was really well done. And it made me nostalgic for Spider-Man Homecoming. To a degree, Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home. I think that this one did a great job. It was able to lift up the other ones even more, which I think is awesome. So for me, it gets an 8 out of 10, which is great. The things that for me really held it back were really the story. The story was the biggest thing for me that kept it from being a higher one. It felt clunky. It felt a little bit overcrowded, and a little bit scattered. In some ways, I feel like we could have narrowed things down a bit more. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I recommend you see it in theaters. Screen X if you can. It's really worth seeing. Also, saw literally just rubbed shoulders with Kevin Smith. That was pretty cool. Got to see him and Mark Bernardin going up the stairs. That was pretty cool to see. But love the movie. Thank you again, Screen X, for having me out. Definitely go see it. And now, guys, we're going to start the spoiler section. Okay? We're going to start the spoiler section. Don't worry. You got plenty of time. If you're in the bathroom right now doing your business, you go ahead and finish up. Make your way over to your phone or TV or laptop or whatever it is. Press pause. And then we'll get up and going into spoilers, okay? I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, better pause, 1. Spoilers, warning, spoilers. Here's all the different spoiler things. All right, so we know who Sadie Sink's character is, and everybody kind of guessed it. And it feels weird that she's in a Spider-Man movie, and that's because she is Jean Grey. She's Jean Grey. And that was an interesting revelation. I don't think that it felt kind of like the Khan revelation in the Star Trek movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, where it's like, yeah, okay. But I don't think that anybody who doesn't know that it's Jean Grey is going to be like, because my mom and dad don't know who Jean Grey is. My brother's not going to know who Jean Grey is. My girlfriend might not know who Jean Grey is, you know? So like that's kind of a thing where I don't know that it's that big of a draw that I think it is. I obviously care. I obviously know. I think my girlfriend probably would, but my point is to say, um, I okay, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense. It wasn't Typhoid Mary. It wasn't Spider Gwen. It was Jean Grey. And her being the villain, I think, was not good. I think it was ungood. I think that although I definitely empathize with her situation, with her sister, although I definitely empathize with how that sucks, and oh my gosh, the moment when it's VMAX, that felt a little odd. I feel like because they were like, oh, well, the sister's definitely dead. I I feel like they should have made us really feel like she was alive first before saying the sister was dead. But her realization of the VMAX happening, how that triggered her powers, that was interesting with the whole air conditioner thing. I don't know. I feel kind of meh about it. I think it's an interesting villain for Spider-Man to fight because how do you fight somebody that you can't punch? I think that's really interesting. I would have loved to have seen more of her. I would have loved to spend more time with her. I get a bit more to know her. We kind of get to know her later on in the movie. It kind of was used as a big reveal as to who she was. I understand all that, but I didn't connect. I didn't connect to her in the ways that I've connected to other villains. I mean, even like Vulture, the whole No Way Home villain cast. But I mean, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, even the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man 1, I feel like I connected to more. Her power set's interesting. How they used it was interesting, but I personally didn't get that emotional connection with Jean Grey. I didn't get the emotional connection. Um, Also, like the Punisher, super cool. Him fighting Hulk, I thought that was really cool. But I feel like Hulk was holding back to a degree. I don't know. I think that there were some cool moments. The one with the Punisher like sliding underneath the Hulk, I think that's really cool. I feel like the whole metamorphosis thing that also like on a different note. Also, the Punisher, by the way, the Punisher, he has the Punisher logo on his van. I don't know if that's in the comics, but it feels again kind of out of character for this Punisher that we know and love. The whole like him being in the hospital thing so Peter Parker can walk out felt kind of unnecessary. And it felt really goofy and again not on brand for the Punisher that we know and love. Some of the jokes that the Punisher was made or how he was kind of really kind of more of a smiley Punisher, it felt also a little out of character. I know that he had some character development in One Last Kill, but it just felt a little out of character. That was something that I was a little bit weird about. Now, talking about another big plot point, the Hand felt very shoehorned into this. Scorpion felt like just like, oh, we'll just toss them a bone. We got to tie up this loose end. Scorpion, there you go. Um, so ticked that the only things that we got from Boomerang and Tarantula and all these different villains were just the montage sequences. What we saw from the trailer was just that's all it was. It was just what we saw from the trailer. That was unfortunate. Here's a spoiler for you. I don't like Yelena in this movie. Um, it's weird that he had to get in a bath with her and they showed his feet as well. I don't, it just feels weird. I've officially seen Tom Holland in his underwear more times than I've ever seen him. And enough. I've seen him enough times in his underwear now. Um, and I don't know why that was a thing. It felt really weird. I know it's like, well, she got him to go into the bath because that was her office. Who put her in a bathtub? That feels kind of like, kind of overly sexual in my opinion. And then making him get in like kind of naked with her, that just felt weird. That felt like a weird call for the writers to do. And like, am I just not familiar with Yelena operating out of a bathtub in the comics? It feels like a weird thing to include. Next, uh, the metamorphosis thing that he's going through and getting the organic webs. I personally really liked that he had web shooters. I thought that added an extra an extra kind of thing he had to worry about. It added a little bit of an extra tension to fight scenes if they got knocked off. Him going to organic webbing, I think, although is an interesting choice, and you can certainly do some different things with that. Maybe they go away, maybe they don't. I could have done without it. I do like that at the end the metamorphosis happens and he becomes the freaking Spider-Man that I really want him to be, which is he can kick the freaking door down. He can break. Oh, you're gonna come at him with a little electric pokey stick. He can break it. Like, well, yeah, no, he can one punch hit you and you're going down. Because Spider-Man can do that, and I feel like they powered him up through this metamorphosis to kind of put him on the same level as Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in terms of the strength, and I love that. So him dodging the shurikens coming at him like Peter Parker was doing with the fly's wings in Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire. I love that. I loved the changes that they made to the character at the end to make him more like Spider-Man, and I thought that was amazing. Pun not intended, but still. But I feel like they could have focused more on that, but maybe they didn't focus on it because it was already kind of bloated with the Hulk. The Hulk whole scenes and stuff felt a little much. It felt like, why are we adding this in here right now? Maybe that's just me. It's cool, but I feel like it's kind of detracting from the story, and that's what I'm saying. It's feeling a little overstuffed. I feel like I could have done without as much Frank Castle. I feel like I could have done without as much Hulk. I would have loved a more grounded Spider-Man story in New York, but that's just me being subjective, I guess. But that was all interesting. And then Jean Grey is on a bus somewhere. Sorry, I needed a snack break. But also I have my popcorn bucket head here, which, spoiler on the back of it, the inhibitor chips. The inhibitor chips. That's going to cause a problem later on for sure. I feel like they were setting up a lot. Even with the Department of Damage Control guy from Severance. I guess. I mean, it's a big actor to bring in for a role. Loved that they didn't immediately undo the whole Mary Jane not loving Peter Parker thing. I mean, absolutely gutting and just heart-wrenching when she says that she doesn't love him. Holy cow. And then how, like, absolutely just it destroyed me to see him miss her so much. If you've ever had a breakup, you know what it's like kind of talking to that person maybe afterwards, especially if you still have feelings for that person. And you could almost trick yourself to thinking that you guys are okay. And then you realize, no, it's this is it. We're going a different way. And when she invited him up to go hang out with Ned, I thought that was great. And him joking with him and putting together a Lego set, it was really nice to see. It was nice to see that. And that's what made me really nostalgic for those original Tom Holland movies. And I really think that was well done. It was very well done. I think that the whole he and Zendaya relationship was great. I'm getting tired. Just so it's currently 1:30 in the morning, so I'm about to have to go to bed. If I look tired, that's why. But overall, my overall thoughts is that it was an amazing movie. I thought the cast was great. Thought the action was great. Thought the story needed some improvement. Didn't love that Jean Grey was the main villain. I mean, how are you going to have the main villain be Jean Grey and then keep it silent, and then you can say, oh well, the main villain was actually the Department of Damage Control guy, but the main antagonist was Jean Grey throughout the movie. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It makes me excited to see where Spider-Man goes next. I hope that we don't have to wait a whole lot of time before the next one. I'm genuinely excited. So this is something that I wasn't before. Like after Spider-Man Far From Home, I wasn't excited to see where the next Spider-Man movie went. I'm excited to see where it goes now. Obviously, we'll have Doomsday, which I don't think that he's in, and then Secret Wars, which I think that he will be in. He'll probably get the black suit like he did in the comic books. It's not a spoiler. I don't know anything. It's just, you know. And then also talking about the post-credit scene. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a symbiote. I don't know if they're seeing Andrew or Toby's universes. I don't know if Miles Morales is in space for some reason. I don't know. Also, another comment: I love Peter Parker's apartment. I love that although he did have a high tech thing to help repair his costume, it's not like a all inclusive everything, everything in one kind of 3D printer thing that the Tony Stark jet had. It looks like he kind of put it together with old computer parts found in a dumpster. I loved how sad he was. I loved how much he went to go see Aunt May. I loved that he was just doing a really good job being Spider-Man, and I like the juxtaposition between Tobey Maguire's Spidey gave up being Spider-Man to be fully Peter Parker, and it kind of made him sick in different ways, and he realized that was wrong. And then Tom Holland's Peter Parker gave up being Peter Parker to be Spider-Man, and I think what's really important for both of those characters to realize is that they're not just Peter Parker, they're not just Spider-Man, they're both, and that's what makes them special. As special as Miles Morales is, as special as Miguel O'Hara is, what makes Peter Parker Spider-Man special, what makes him unique, is that he is Peter Parker and he's Spider-Man. That is it's just a combination like peanut butter and jelly, it's just perfect. So, all that to be said, my score is an 8 out of 10. I'd like to see it again. I probably will. Again, thank you to ScreenX for having me out for the screening. Go see it in ScreenX if you'd like to. I definitely would recommend it. I'm not just saying that. I genuinely thought it was a really cool experience to go see it in. And that's all, y'all. If you have questions, maybe I'll do a Q&A or something like that at some point. But for right now, this is the whole video. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you have comments about the Spider-Man movie, I'd be careful looking underneath the comments of this video just in case there's spoilers, in case you haven't seen it yet. And also, don't go spoil it for people. That's just rude. But good job to the director, first-time director for Spider-Man. I think that he did a great job. Destin Daniels, he did awesome. I'm sorry that I already forgot your name. It's also 1:31 in the morning, so I'm going to go to bed. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll catch you next time, and go watch Spider-Man.